I still think sellers are still not getting the picture. Hopeful thinking some of them just can't afford it, or just at
Yeah.
that last moment, just like the last wave, they just hang on for dear life and they don't see like just
Yeah.
do something reasonable and get the ebb and the flow better for the market. It improves everything for everybody instead of everybody just still hanging on for as much as they can.
Likely happen with interest rates when and if Fannie and Freddie leave conservatorship and are spun out as private enterprises. And why I want to talk to Stephen Dow about this is he has 30 years in the business. He has seen lots of market cycles. He worked with Fannie and Freddie before in conservatorship, now in conservatorship, now potentially coming out. Stephen, you've seen a lot over the last 30 years. What is your gut opinion what happens to rates if Fannie and Freddie are spun out as private enterprises?
I mean, gut is they're probably going to go up because again, I mean, Fannie Freddie have the deepest pockets. So yeah, I would imagine because they can just print money to some degree. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When I look at it, I like, and I don't. Let me be clear. I don't think rates go up a little bit. I think they go up a lot. Right? If rates are 7 today, they could be 8 tomorrow if this happened. And here's why. Today, whether you like it or not, they're in conservatorship. They have an explicit guarantee. Explicit. What they're talking about doing is rolling them out in private and once again having this implicit guarantee. I'm not very good with vocabulary, but I think explicit is a little more than implicit. And because of that delta risk variance margin spread, whatever you want to call it, rates are going to go up by that fact and that fact alone to start. What do you think?
I mean, a lot of times I've guessed wrong, so I don't really want to kind of put it in print in a sense. But yeah, again, in my estimation, just for the type of profit margins for the level of risk, at least with my type of paper, I could see
Yeah.
that. But on the conventional side as well, just being in the current you know economic environment we're in, it's going to be of a risk. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, for sure. Right.
I would imagine rates are going to go up again. That's just my gut feeling,
Yeah.
and especially with less competition, right? Again, people are going to be like, hey, well, Fannie Freddie, Uncle Fannie and Aunt Fannie and Uncle Freddie ain't around anymore to help everybody out. Now I can take
Right.
advantage of everybody. So that's just the gut feeling. I mean, to some degree, I don't know if that's just my subconscious wishing it to be a little bit kind of closer up because that makes my loans fantastic. Right now, 30-year fix, good credit, 50% LTV and under, no ratio, up to 2 million, 7.865 all day. No
Mm,
ratio, no nothing.
I like
Whole
it.
title under an
Yeah.
entity. So we're cranking quite a bit of those because again, jumbo pricing is starting to kind of creep up close to mine with all that extra
Yeah.
paperwork and all that extra
Headache.
rigmarole. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So close quickly, very little headache, and yeah, we're starting to see a lot of that fallout. So that's just kind of the nature of the business. But again, that's why we've been around for so long. We're not going to be everything to everybody, but in certain circumstances and situations, we're a great fit. And as of late, our rates are looking pretty not too
Yeah.
bad given, the
Yeah.
trade-off.
Yeah.
Don't
I
need
like it.
nothing. Yep.
Well, I got more to say on this, but I did forget. I did remiss that I didn't do the marketing spiel. So let's knock that out real quick.
That's okay. They can understand. But although I work very happily for Velocity Mortgage Capital, all the ideas and topics discussed on this channel, and just a couple minutes earlier are that of my own. So we're covered.
All of them together.
Everything that was, yeah, everything in this, yeah, as soon as you hit play or record. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. So the other thing when I think about, you brought it up here, is competition.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things, and I might be wrong here, this is where your expertise and experience will come in. Today, it kind of feels like Aunt Fanny and Uncle Freddie
Mm-hmm.
are saying yes to all loans. Like they're buying everything, right? They have the deepest pockets.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect, and again, this is just a suspicion, that if they do get spun out as private enterprises, that they won't be as forgiving. They won't be as open. They're going to have a little bit more criteria. They're actually going to become harder to work with, not
Mm-hmm.
less. They're going
Right.
to take on less risk.
Right.
And I think that comes too. So that's a net negative for people as well.
Agreed. Again, guidelines probably get tighter, less competition, rates to potentially go up because that's just how business works.
Yeah.
And again, most lenders don't have that luxury of having unlimited deep pockets. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
Fannie Freddie, and their conservatorship, if push comes to shove, but we got to print some money, turn those printers on. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just kind of,
Yeah.
but we don't
Yeah.
have that luxury.
That explicit to implicit is going to be a big deal. And then the last thing you were hinting out that I think is just genius to talk about is, you've been in the mortgage business 30 years, seen lots of cycles, boom, bust, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have another recession. Is it started? Is it coming? Who knows? But in recessions, unemployment rates go up, defaults go up, and it's very likely that risk spreads are going to go up. So again, you get rid of that explicit guarantee, you have a private enterprise looking out to protect their balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
You could see kind of a double and triple whammy in the mortgage space, don't you think?
For a short period of time, like with anything, it's just going to cycle out, and then you're probably going to find some other players that see a potential opportunity where timing, maybe we're heading in the right direction, rates are stabilizing, unemployment starting to get in check, you know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, well, maybe we could kind of roll the dice, take a little bit of a risk now, gobble up some market share initially, get ahead of the wave, and then, start riding it back up. But yeah, I can kind of see that happening as well. So it's not if, but when, I would imagine. But it's just weird that we're living in this kind of world now. Some of the metrics that we would normally see are skewed, so we don't really get the full information, and so you're just manipulated to believe certain things that aren't really, you know what I mean? So have we been in a recession? Probably. And to the severity, I think it's all relative to how it impacts you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
high income level people probably didn't really feel it as much. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Middle class, low, yeah, oh, they felt it. You know what I mean? That's why
Yeah.
credit card balances are going up to record highs, and you started to see all those auto loan defaults and repos, and foreclosures are starting to slowly hit the market. Not that
Yeah.
large. I mean, you see percentages, but it's just year over year. It's the numbers are a little skewed. It's not the momentous like hundreds of thousands before when the
Yeah.
mortgage meltdown of 06, 08. But it's slowly, and banks now know they played, they'll play a game, play the game a better, where they'll
Mhm.
work with you, forbearance, maybe options, delay kind of things of that nature. So yeah, it's just a weird environment, man. I don't know. It's just hard to kind of really say which way or the other, because you used to be able to tell them,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
nowadays, man, there's just all this stuff going on, and
I,
heck, for all
yeah.
we know,
So
yeah.
let's steelman the other side, because I've actually never thought about this. So I'm going to be doing this in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been so swayed towards rates are going to go up. Let's play the game that they get spun out and rates go down.
Okay.
What are one or two factors that might actually make rates go down? Anything jump out at you? I have one, but do you have any thoughts on what one might be?
I mean, I don't even want to say the P word.
Yeah.
Another one or something like that, where you know what I mean, where they gotta, just for the function of the country, they got to do some drastic stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
dropping rates in that regard, but if you're talking about the normal kind of ebb and flow and motivations, um,
Yeah, well, let
yeah,
me throw these two out at you and see how they fit. So again, I'm
mm-hmm.
trying to steel man the other side. I don't know that I believe these, but I'm just trying to pull things
Devil's
together.
advocate, got
Yeah,
it.
I'm just trying. So number one is Fannie and Freddie come out. They're a private enterprise, but they want to make a splash. They want to buy the market. They want to kind of push competition. They
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of set the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So, it could be a business strategy, right? CEO, CFO, chief revenue officer, what it is,
Mm-hmm.
basically going, hey, we're going to take on UWM or whatever it is.
Right.
And we're going to go buy the market for 6 months. Maybe. You could see a business strategy, right? That could be one.
Okay, you can have the product, but do you have the demand? So it's got to have a combination of that plus the, unemployment has got to get in check and or improve to where now you have people that can make the money to then qualify for those products to then, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like a, symbiotic relationship to some degree. You still need the desire. So that's why I was saying certain metrics have to kind of come into play for all of this to kind of turn around. Sure, lower rates, but lower rates, who's going to get the loans? They don't got no money to pay for them. So you got to have that without this. So it's got to happen at the same time. Timing is everything in life. Sometimes they're a little late with that. Sometimes a little early. But if you can kind of time it right, you can really start to gobble up some of this current inventory that's been sitting in the market for a while. I still think sellers are still not getting the picture. Hopeful thinking some of them just can't afford it, or just at
Yeah.
that last moment, just like the last wave, they just hang on for dear life and they don't see like just
Yeah.
do something reasonable and get the ebb and the flow better for the market. It improves everything for everybody instead of everybody just still hanging on for as much as they can. So anyway,
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
And then the last thing I think about is, one of the things that, obviously in sales that we know is competition is a great force. So Fannie Freddie comes out, they're public now. They don't have the shield of conservatorship of the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be game on, right? It could be game on.
It could be. You might
Yeah,
have some like, money from overseas or something, like, hey, we're not making money over here because everything sucks over here, but we could park it over there. Don't know what the legalities are with, lenders being able to be financed with overseas money or whatnot. But I would imagine there's some degree of maybe some interest. I mean, obviously, with all the big wigs pulling out of the market, Warren Buffett and everybody else kind of like, staying more liquid,
yeah,
maybe they might chime in and go like, you know what, this is a good time. I got all this dry powder sitting around. I might just dabble real quick. Let me see if I can help the overall temperature of the United States as far as like first time homeowners,
mhm,
young Americans. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Maybe more. These billionaires are going to get together and come up with a particular product that is a win-win for them, right?
yeah,
I don't know.
maybe,
I'm always thinking outside the box to some degree, where maybe
yeah,
some sort of down payment program, assistance of some sort, a grant. Maybe Warren gets a piece of the action when they go to sell. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Where it's like,
lots of
hey,
things. Yeah,
I can park my money anywhere. Why don't I do it with investing in the next generation? Help them get property
yeah,
ownership. Helping them to grow wealth and net worth. And so
yeah,
it starts typically from home ownership. So again, I don't know, man. We're thinking wildly. I'm thinking, why not? You never
yeah.
know.
Well,
Could
I
be
got
some.
one more for you. I got one
Yeah,
more for you. The
yeah,
other
yeah.
one is spread. I mean, something we've been living with for the last 4 years is a historically wide spread. And I don't know if it's going to come back in, but if you look back 30 years, the spread between the 10-year and mortgage rates was under 2%.
Right.
We've been as high as, over 3%. So, there is, one train of thought is, there's half a point of spread that could be dropped off should things become more certain or the economy go the right direction. But at the end of the day, when I think about the possibility of getting lower mortgage rates, I at least have to really squint and kind of look for it. I think naturally rates are going to go up at least in the short term.
Agreed. Because again, I mean, Wall Street, realistically, we're dreaming kind of like delusions of grandeur, but realistically, Wall Street is going to determine a lot of this anyway, and they just don't see the risk in the way that we would hope them to be, right? So
Yeah.
right now in this environment where everything's headed worldwide financially, ain't nobody trying to like roll the dice or put that much money on the line for three, like 0.5% vig, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Especially with where prime rate is at right now. Unless you're getting
Yeah.
money from like some trough that nobody knows about, you know what I mean? Yeah, that it's not happening.
Nah.
So all this like yeah, all these other factors have to kind of chime in. But in a perfect ideal world, yeah, I don't know if that does happen, and some of these billionaires that they don't know where to park their money and they can't take it with them anyway. Maybe they could do these kind of like
Yeah. Maybe.
humanitarian type of grants of some sort. Because again, they, to some degree, I know that Warren Buffett has mentioned to his children, he's given them a bunch of money, but I think they have to give it all away or something, or
Yeah. Something crazy.
yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, if somebody wanted to start something, figure out how velocity can help them, what do they do?
Email's the best. Again, right below sdout@velocitymortgage.com. In the subject line, please put the acronym ORAAT. That helps to get past the firewall. The body of the email, a brief description of what you're looking for. Address is going to be super helpful. At least city and state to make sure I lend there. Your mid FICO score, best phone number to reach you at, and typically 24 to 48 hours. I'll be in touch. Sorry.
Long day. It's all right, buddy. Take care of yourself. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike.